In this lecture, we will continue learning how to mark up text. So we will keep using some headings, some paragraphs, and we will also learn how to make text bold and italic. And let's actually start with headings. So usually the goal of headings is to break up big blocks of text into more logical sections and to basically add a title to each of these sections. Now, you already learned about the H1 heading, but there are actually 6 different headings. So there's a hierarchy of headings so that we can establish a hierarchy in our text. So we can go all the way from H1 to H6. So let's grab this text here and create all of these 6 different headings, just so you can see how they look different visually in the browser. So the H1 we can call the primary heading, and then the secondary heading is the H2. And I'm pasting the exact same text here so we can see the visual difference between them. So we have H1, H2, and then for the tertiary heading, we use H3. Pasting the same text there. And now we just have to repeat all of this all the way down to H6. All right, and as you're typing these characters, so this code, all of this will start getting into your brain and you will start getting practice writing HTML. So H6, and then let's give it a save, and then reloading the browser. And so you can see very nicely that this really created a visual hierarchy basically between these 6 headings. So the first one is the biggest one by far, and then this last one, which is the H6, is kind of small. And then in between we have all these different variations. Okay, so now we know how these different headings work, but now let's take a look at our demo page actually, just to see which kind of headings we actually need. So we have basically the name of this blog, so the code magazine, and this is the biggest heading. Then below that we have the name of the article, so of this blog post, and this one is a little bit smaller. So it's not a primary heading anymore, but it is a secondary heading. Then inside of this text here, and remember how I said that a heading is basically to break up text into logical sections, right? And so here in between this text, we have another section. And so here inside this, let's say, blog post, we have another heading. And so this should probably be an H3. All right. And so let's now create a markup for this kind of structure. So we have all this text that we need actually here. So we just need to copy paste this code here, or this text. All right. So I'm leaving these here for now for reference. And so remember, we are going to start with the primary heading. So I'll just paste this here and then close the H1. Okay. Then let's create our secondary heading. And again, I will grab the text from here. And so that's actually the one that we already had before. So this one is exactly the same as this one, but that doesn't really matter. It's no problem. And then let's get our H3, which is what is HTML. Let's just write that. And then let's check out what this looks like. And here we go. Nice. So this is kind of the structure of our text right now. And now we just need to fill it up with the paragraphs in between. So basically for each of these paragraphs that we have in the text, we can simply create a paragraph in the code, right? And we already used the paragraph element before. And so that's kind of a generic element that we use to mark up bigger blocks of text. So remember, that's the P element. And let me just grab the content here. So the first one that we have here is posted by Laura Jones on Monday, June 21st. Let me copy it. Oh, and you see that now this element was again closed automatically. Let's give it a save here. And now let's create some additional paragraphs here. So the P element, and let me actually close it immediately here. And then let's grab our text. So it's this one here. So copy and paste. And so by now we are starting to build really our project at the same time as learning about these elements. So this one here as well. So I'm copying it again and then pasting it inside of the P element. So let's give it a save and reload it again. And that's looking nice already. Great. Let's take a look. And now let's just grab two more. So these two paragraphs here. So after the H3 that we have down here. So P and closing it immediately as well. So just double clicking to selecting all of it, which is a nice technique. And then let's just add the final one. And you see that in the meantime, it formatted the code here, and that's because of the autosave and the auto format. Okay, now I saved it manually actually. Let's go here, and there is our content again. Now to clean this up a little bit, let's now actually get rid of all of these 6 headings here. So now you already know how they work and that they exist. And actually, instead of getting rid of them, we can use something called comments in HTML. So a comment in HTML is a way of writing some code that will not be visible in the browser. And this is very useful because it allows us to write comments about our code, or also to simply hide some code that we do not want to be rendered on the browser. Now to write a comment, it's a little bit of a weird syntax. So again, we write the less than symbol, then an exclamation mark, then dash dash, and then to close the comment, VS Code already automatically created this dash dash closing part. So this opens a new comment and this closes that same comment. Now let's remove this part here, and now you see that everything turned gray. So all of this is a comment now, but we actually want the comment to end right here. So dash dash and close, and now only this part here is gray, which means that this is now the comment and it will now not be rendered. So let's check that out. And if I reload, now it is gone from the page. Nice. But we can still keep it here in the code, just so you know that H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 also exist. Now, just one thing that I didn't mention earlier about the headings is that each and every page should only have one H1 heading. So only one primary heading. That is very important to keep in mind. This is not really mandatory, so it doesn't violate any HTML rules if we have multiple H1s, but it is a very good practice to always just have one of them. Now about all the other ones, we can have, of course, multiple of them. So, for example, I think on our page we actually have another of these headings here in the middle of our text. And so in our case, these are H3 headings. So you see, here is another one. And so, of course, we can also add that here right away. Why not? So H3, why should you learn HTML? And then, of course, closing it. Okay. Now, just to finish, let me also quickly show you how we can create bold and italic text. So here in our demo site, we have this name of the author, which is Laura Jones in bold. So how can we do that in HTML? Well, there is a special element for that, or actually two elements. And let me start with the simpler one, which is simply called B. So B stands for bold. And so the part that we want to be bold, so Laura Jones in this case, all we have to do is to put it inside of a B element. So we can just write B like this in the beginning, and then at the end of the content, we simply add our closing tag. So that's /B, close it. And now once we reload our own page, so take a look here at Laura Jones. If we reload that, then you see that it turned bold. Great. Now, however, the use of B is actually not a good practice. So B is actually an older HTML element, and starting in HTML5, we should always use the strong element instead of B. The reason for that is that B doesn't have any so-called semantic meaning, and more about that a little bit later in this section. But essentially what this means is that B is simply an element but without a specific meaning, while on the other hand, the strong element means that this is really an important element that we want to stand out from the page. So if we say strong on the opening tag, and then of course also in the closing tag, then it will look exactly the same in the browser. So let's confirm. Yeah, it's still bold, but now it has a meaning that it is a more important text. And that is essentially the idea of semantic HTML. And again, we will talk more about semantic HTML by the end of this section. So for now, just know that don't use B, but use strong to make text bold. Now let's also make some text italic here. And let's choose this word here. So just fundamental. And just like with B, there are actually two ways of doing it. The older one is the I element. So wrapping whatever part of the text we want to be italic inside of the I element. And so I just stands for italic. And indeed, you see that now it changed. But one more time, in order to make this semantic HTML, we should no longer use the I element, but the EM element, which stands for emphasize. So we want to emphasize this text here, and that is the reason why we make it italic. So that's also the reason why the browser then shows it as italic. Right? So if we reload, it is still italic, but now we basically gave it the meaning of an emphasized text. Now, okay, great. This is great progress. You're doing really well up until this point. Now, just to finish this lecture, I actually already want to give you your very first small coding challenge. So what I want you to do is basically this. Let me show it to you here. So I want you to make the first letter of these words, so hypertext markup language, I want you to make the H, T, M, and L bold. All right. So basically that is this text right here. So this H, this T, this M, and this L, they should all be bold. So they should be displayed here in bold, just like I have it in the demo page. So do you think that you can do that and write some HTML code on your own for the very first time? Well, I really hope that you try it because, as I said before, these coding challenges are really, really important for you to start practicing your skills, even if it's just something really simple like this. So please go ahead and pause the video right now and make each of these 4 letters bold. And I will be back here in a second with you to show you how it's done. So Did you manage to do this? Well, this is how it works. So once again, we just need to wrap the part that we want to be marked as bold into a strong element. And in this case, that is just the H. And so that's why we're closing this strong element right here in the middle of the word. Then here we want the T, and so again, we write. And so again, a strong element here. So the opening tag, and then the other one right here. And of course, then the same for the other two letters. Okay, so hopefully I didn't do any mistake there. Let's reload, and there you go. HTML is now marked in bold. Great. So again, I hope that you managed to do this on your own, as this is really important for your learning process.